We're back once again here on a Sunday afternoon. The date is July 19th. It is nice and sunny out here in Texas. I don't know about South Carolina, but it's hot here. So, as you know from the previous
It is hot. It is very hot, of
episodes,
course.
we are missing two people. We had just Ruben on last week. He's not
That
going to
are
be able to make it this week,
regulars.
and neither is Ace. So it's just the OG crew, the Master Chief, and myself, the showrunner. And today we're going to get into our NFL preview. We're going to preview the AFC next week, the NFC. But I feel like time constraints, man, it'd be a lot to do both and kind of break down both. But first, I wanted to say, even though she lost, shout out to Anna in her debut. Tough one there,
Oh
tough
yeah.
loss to deal with. But first time on the big stage. Of course, she's got a 6-2 professional record, but that was her first loss in the UFC. So she's now 6-2, and I'm gonna go ahead and say I don't, it's tough. It's tough to fight wrestlers and jiu-jitsu people nowadays. And I'm telling you, if you're not up to par or up to speed on the ground and on your takedown defense, it's very tough to compete in the UFC now. You still see some people when the stand up, but man, a wrestler or somebody finds out that you're not good on the ground, that's exactly what they're going for. And that's what that girl went
Hmm.
for. She got her right away, controlled her on the ground for about 3 minutes. Now, I will say Anna's defense is better. It looked a lot better from the Ultimate Fighter. She was able to, get out of it, but Anna tried to get on her feet, and that girl just jumped on her back as she got up, and Anna tried to walk it out. She just couldn't get away from
Yeah.
it.
When you get
So,
in a spot like that, you gotta try something dramatic and risky. Either that or just go ahead and tap out because you just once they get that position, it's like throwing the Hail Mary. I mean, what's the percentage of that? But if you're down by 4 points and you're at your own 45-yard line and there's 3 seconds left, you could try to hit a pass and pick up 15 yards, yay, or you try to win the game. So it's Hail Mary time at that point,
yeah.
and there just were limited options for her, and she probably did the right thing. She she wrestled some in high school, I guess in Alabama, and
That's where she trains out of, so
and
that's the main.
that's the only thing she's ever talked about. So second rate state, compared to what we got here, but anyway, there's also a yeah, whatever. There's also a very, very important difference between wrestling and jiu-jitsu, okay? And the difference really applies in MMA because you can wrestle and you can get on somebody and you can control them, but wrestling isn't about submission, and you need the jiu-jitsu, and you have to submit somebody. Otherwise, why get to the ground? Otherwise, you can stand up. And Anna thinks has submitted two people, but most of her wins come from knockout or by stoppages,
Yeah.
TKOs from, because that's her thing was boxing. And
Yes.
growing up, I used to drive to Alabama to watch her box a lot when she was growing up. I
Get over
say
there.
that, folks, because she grew up here in South Carolina. She's originally, I guess, Atlanta is where they were living when she was born, and then they went to Indiana, and then the only state worth a flip out of all of those is South Carolina, and but she left to train in Alabama, so she talks about Alabama. But she grew up here in South Carolina, but high school here, went to middle school here, elementary school, and all that. So, but and she wrestled, but there is a far cry from, and she wasn't, it wasn't like, some of the wrestlers you see that are just like Gabe Lewis and some of these guys that are just wrestlers, man. So, and then you have to transition. So she's going to have to figure out where she goes now. She's old for this game. Not compared to me, she's not old. She's your age, but I think she's 3 days younger than you. But
Yeah.
she's old for MMA. 29 is that's the beginning of the downhill at that age for that kind of thing. Like Conor McGregor, you know, the dude just sitting, like I said last week, you can't come back from that. Not at their age. If you're 22, maybe, but if you're 35, you're not going to break your leg and come back and play football or wrestle or MMA, especially. You just can't
Yeah.
do it. It's a brutal combat sport. So what she's got to do is she's got to decide where does she want to go, and if she wants to keep it up, like you said, she's got to just get. She can't lose the ability to strike and the strength that she has, but she has got to improve that weakness because in any kind of situation in sports, in the military, in life, in trying to pick up a chick at a bar, okay, the best strategy you can have is apply your strengths against their weaknesses. And people are always going to do that. So she's got to shore up that weakness.
Yes.
So, you know.
Anyways, but it was a
This
good.
season of Ultimate Fighter, by the way, is kind of entertaining. I'm liking it.
You might watch the
The
future
other
ones then.
night, you had a yeah. The other night, you had the one that was they're it's all done, but they're releasing one episode every Tuesday. So you know, and there's a couple people in there. This past week, you had a guy from like one of the Eurasian countries, you know, and then you had a kid from Cuba, and I kind of got a feeling the kid from Cuba was in trouble because the girl that won like a couple weeks ago, she was trying to get him up to go train, and he didn't go to the training session.
Yeah.
He stayed in the tough house, and he was like, "I know my body. I need it." No. Sorry, you got to train every day, man. Okay, you got to train every day if you're going to do that. So, and I was a little worried, and it was a decision, you know, and I think he could have beat the other guy, but anyway. So, but it is entertaining. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the entertainment because DC and Bisbing are both just, I mean, they're entertaining, they're dynamic, you know, against each other. You could tell they respect each other and like each other, but they go at it. It reminds me of back in the day before we had phones, when our friends and I used to just bag on each other, but we knew we had each other's back. And you know, and the kids are interesting. They have all these different backgrounds, and it's refreshing. I like it. You know, most of the time when, you know, these two guys this past week, they went in there and they hated each other. Okay. Because when they were sparring, the kid, I forget his name, but the kind of the Asian kid, he headbutts the Cuban. Okay.
Yeah.
And the Cuban punched him. Now I would have followed up with some combinations. Okay. There's no need to do that. And then they're all talking about the Cuban is dirty. No, you started it. You're the dirty person. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't go and it's like in the movies or whatever. You don't go and kill somebody's family, and then when they kill everybody you ever knew, you don't say, "Oh, they're mean, they're evil." No. You brought this on yourself, okay? So, and after it, and look, they were both like, whenever he's over here, I'm over here. You know, so then they go and they fight, and of course, and the Cuban was like, you know, he beat me. You know, I don't know if I was ready or not, but you know, he's a good fighter, and he beat me. And you know, and the kid that won was like, you know, he's a good fighter. You know, it was a lot tougher than I thought. I felt like I should have dominated more. So you get a lot of that. It's really good, man. And another thing is, you see that Anna, even though she lost the first fight, she's out there encouraging people, helping people. You know, it's just nice to see the UFC community. Is you wouldn't think, because of the violence and violent nature of their sport, but what they do is it is a more humble, more, you know, I mean, they have to have some confidence. You can't do that, but they're just it's a better community of people, man. I like it. So it's been entertaining. Gonna watch it all the way through.
Definitely better than WWE.
Yeah, watermelon juice for soda Sunday. So no soda, but watermelon. So juice Sunday. It is better than WWE, man. You know, I mean, I can't say that this never scripted or whatever, but you know, WWE is okay. You did what was right, and you did what we wanted. So now we're going to let you have the belt. I mean, that's how it works. I don't know if it's exactly those words, but it's people deciding who gets to win each you know match, and you know, and then what those guys are just bad actors. You know, they go out there and they spill all these stupid lines and blah blah blah, whatever. Man, UFC, I love it. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
So
me too.
And I was at one point in my life, I was likes to fight guy. I don't know if I'd want to do that. Although, you know, you train hard and you fight maybe once, maybe twice a year, you know, that was a lot less than me growing up. So that would have been pretty cool. Okay. Once a year. Okay, cool. I get a break. But I don't know, man. I like it. I really like it. I like wrestling. I'm really into it. So, but we got other business today.
Yeah. We got AFC, NFL preview, and we're going to start off with the AFC East first. Let's get into it. We have the Bills, the Dolphins, the Patriots, and the Jets, and we'll give our standings at the end, but just want to go into what we think about each team, and obviously, you know, strengths, weaknesses, you know, and then some debate questions that I came up with of, you know, what I think. But first off, you have the Bills, to me, heavy favorites. They have Josh Allen. They just added DJ Moore in the receiver room as well. So Josh
Right.
Allen has another weapon. They have James Cook the third, one of the best fantasy running backs out there. Dynamic, catches the ball to the backfield very well, runs the ball very well. Their defense has been not so good in recent years. They have some good spells. Last couple of years, the defense hasn't been elite or at the top, and I think that's kind of what's hurt them a little bit, is their offense having to score a lot. I think that changes a little bit this year. I think they've added some decent pieces on the defense. I think they'll see improvement there, but I think the offense is going to be a lot better. DJ Moore expands the offense a lot more. And then for me, the Patriots, last year's Super Bowl runner-up, lost to the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. Don't know how they made it there. It was crazy. They lost to the Raiders earlier in the year. I just don't know where that came from.
Way.
But yes, they had a weak schedule. It allowed them to get in there. They also got to face the Broncos when Bo Nix went down, and so that kind of helped them a little bit. But, yeah, and then you have the Jets and the Dolphins, who I think are just – I mean, the Dolphins just lost Tua. You know, they have Malik Willis is their quarterback now, I'm pretty sure. The Jets, Geno Smith is their quarterback. We already know as Raiders fans how that goes. So
here's the Jets, all right? I know a lot of people think Miami. I don't know them, and it's tough. I'm going to pick the Jets to be fourth in that division. And so the Raiders got Geno Smith, and what did they get for it? The number one pick in the draft. So the Jets are angling for the number one pick in the draft.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to get the number one pick in the draft, the most solid single course of action is to bring in Geno Smith to be your quarterback.
Yes.
So congratulations, Jets. You guys are not only going to be last in that division, you're going to be almost, maybe even overall last. Okay.
Yes.
Because Cleveland will win a few games. So I'm saying, I'm looking, and the Jets are 5 point. Vegas has them 5.5 over under. Okay. Take the under, fourth place team, the Jets. Look, I mean, what do they have? What do they have that's good? Tell me what they have that's good. Okay?
Nobody I could think of off the top of my head. I mean, that's just
Nothing.
that's the way it is, right?
The Knicks would beat them in football.
That's kind of funny.
Next
they have
question.
a good so for me, they have a good running back in Breece Hall and a good receiver in Garrett Wilson, but none of that matters when you have a quarterback like Geno Smith. So really,
you have
I can't
one
think
good
of
receiver.
Much.
That's right. You have one good receiver. You have a terribly managed team. Okay.
You know,
not particularly well coached. You have the worst quarterback that has played in the NFL in the past few years. I mean, Aiden O'Connell should have started over Geno Smith. Aiden O'Connell is terrible. They have a marginal running back.
Yeah. And, they have Kenyon Sadiq. They have the tight end from Oregon, and they have Omar Cooper, receiver from Indiana. But, maybe those were good picks, right? But maybe they're sitting here like, yeah, maybe the Jets front office is like, look, we have a great running back. We have 3 good receivers and a tight end combo. Like, we have good weapons. Let's just bring Geno in so we can get that first overall pick.
That's
and then
right.
next year we can end up with Arch Manning.
Yep.
I mean, that's probably what
Geno is so dumb that he will throw in the first 10 games, he'll throw 25 interceptions, and he'll be like, I should still be starting. So you keep running him out there. There's no chance you break that first place streak thing.
Yeah.
That first draft pick. So it's a lock. It's a lock.
Yeah,
so,
it's a lock.
So congratulations, New York Jets. If that is your strategy, then well done. If it's not, and you hear us saying this and you say those guys are crazy, you all need to wear a ski mask and carry a gun to pick up your paycheck.
It's true. So I think we're both in agreement that we have the Jets in last place.
Yep. And that says something, because let's talk about my third place team in the East, the Dolphins. Okay. Malik Willis, who isn't ready yet. He needs more time, but very, very high potential. Okay.
Yeah.
And you got A-Chain. Okay.
Yeah.
Solid running back.
Yeah.
But then what they do is they bring in Willis and they got A-Chain and they get rid of everybody else that matters. They go dumping
no Tyree, no Jalen Waddle.
It's like, okay, so we got 2 of the fastest people in the NFL. Get rid of them. No, this is going to be a disaster. The reason I picked them third is because I'm thinking they win 3 games, maybe 4, and I think the Jets are going to struggle to win 2 games. So that's why I got them third.
Yeah, and I'm kind of the same way. So
now, also for us, and we'll talk about the Dolphins open against the Raiders. We better win that game because the first 7 games are not very fun.
No,
so But I think we can win that game. Our roster is better than theirs. Our quarterback is, I would say right now, Malik Willis and Kirk Cousins, probably a draw. We have a better run. A-Chain's good, and Genty's better. So I think we win that game. So that's good. But yeah, Dolphins third for me. That's where I am. So
we have the better tight end. We have good receivers. We have solid receivers. We're not the best in the receiver department, but we're getting there. And I think that they didn't worry that much about it because they knew there was no need. So
the Dolphins get 2 wins over the Jets, though.
Yeah, they get the 2 wins. So maybe that'll be, if they can double that, they can find a way to win 2 more. They get 4, maybe 5.
It is 2 wins. Yeah.
I don't know, but I think we're both going to agree. Jets, Dolphins are 4 and 3, number 4, number 3. Which leaves me, I'm going to give mine. I think the Patriots finished second. And you know, I think they're a good team. Drake May's a good quarterback, right? Travion Henderson's a great running back, right? They've got guys like Diggs still. You know, I think, they have a good defense. I think Vrabel's a good coach. I've said this a lot. A.J. Brown now to help at receiver with Romeo Dobbs. This is a team that, I feel like is going to be really good. They got Matt Collins at receiver too. But I think A.J. Brown, Drake May, Travion Henderson, really good. On defense, they have one of the best corners in the league in Christian Gonzalez, who I wanted the Raiders to draft a while back. And then, Kevin Byard at safety, KJ Britt at linebacker. They're going to have really, really good defensive players. So defense will be solid. Offense will be good. They'll be one of the most balanced teams. They'll be the most balanced team on both sides in that division. And I think that's what gets them second place. So for me, I have them. I agree. I had them at like 11-6 for the season.
Well, just having a full NFL roster puts them in second place in that division.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they won it last year. The Bills, a little bit of a droop. There's a couple things about that means we're going to pick the Bills first, of course. So that's each of us will. So this is a spoiler alert, but I do have the Patriots. Look, Drake May's a good quarterback. Okay. Drake May is going to be a solid NFL quarterback for a while. He is on, at very best, the tier 2, though. He's not a tier 1 quarterback. I think a tier 1 quarterbacks, I run through the Bradys, the Mannings, both of the Mannings. Okay. Looking at the guy now, Mahomes,
Lamar, Allen.
Bo Nix. Yeah. Obviously, Allen, going back through history, the Marinos, the Elways, the Montanas, those guys, tier 1 guys. Donovan McNabb, tier 1. But I think Drake May's a tier 2 quarterback. But that's enough if your organization is right and stuff. We'll see if all this stuff with Vrabel bleeds over. He's a good coach. He was a good player. I don't know if any of this, I don't know if it actually matters. I don't know if it translates to any kind of issue in the club, in the locker room, in practice on the game. I don't know. I think probably not. This is just something most guys in the NFL, some people might think something or whatever. Most people don't care. It's not that big a deal to them.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect them. It doesn't affect the players. So I think it's not a big deal. I just think the Bills are better. And in the NFL, when it really matters the most, what really matters most is the quarterback. And guess what? The best quarterback in that division by a long sight is Josh Allen. So that's why I picked the Bills. And now I don't like that they got rid of McDermott. That was a knee-jerk reaction. The 2 firings that I did not like last year was McDermott and Tomlin. Okay, a guy. Yeah. First of all, look at Tomlin. He's never lost again. I've never had a losing season. You know how hard that is in this freaking league. And so and they get rid of him and whatever. And then, you get rid of McDermott, man. McDermott had things going on. So they didn't win the big one. They were getting closer. I don't know, man. Just a little bit of wonder there. And so they got Joe Brady, right? Yeah. So they got, a pretty good play caller, or whatever. But again, the guy that hadn't been the head coach before, and there are a lot of things that go into being a head coach that are different from even being a coordinator or an associate coach or whatever. Okay. Yeah. So we'll see how that tracks. I mean, it could work out. Joe Brady, you don't know. Joe Brady's a good offensive coordinator. He's got a good mind. He's a football guy. It's very possible, that he jumps them up to another level. And if he does, then hey, there's no reason that roster can't win the Super Bowl.
You have So for me, there's a lot of reasons, but man, they're just loaded. I mean, you have the best. I think you have the best overall quarterback in all aspects of the game in the league, and
in the
Josh
league. Yeah,
Allen. And then you have DJ Moore and Keon Coleman, along with Khalil Shakur, receiver, and then you got James Cook at running back. I mean,
dude,
and their
DJ
defense has
Moore
some
is a
guys.
big deal for them too.
Yeah,
Okay, that's another dimension.
Keon
You know,
Coleman's
and
still
yeah,
good too.
and Cook is what you need in an NFL back. He's tough. He can fight for a couple of yards. He's got speed. He catches the ball. Yeah, this is to me. This is the team. Yeah, definitely.
Which so I mean I'm thinking about it in your Dolphins or Jets. Let's go back to this. Which rebuilding team is the closest to contention? Is it the Jets or the Dolphins?
You know what? It's probably the Dolphins, even though they jettisoned all these people because they got A-Chain. He's not that old, right? He's like in his mid-20s or late 20s. I don't
28,
know.
29.
And you got Malik. All right, so there's a start. Okay,
Yeah.
get a running back and a quarterback. That's a start. They're going to get a good draft choice after this year. So I think they have the better roster to contend now. They also I think have the better roster to move forward. And the reason is if you have two teams, this is the way I look at it in the NFL. Okay. If you have two teams and it's so close, okay, and we're not talking about contention or who's going to win a playoff game, we're talking about which team is going to stay out of the cellar. So then when everything else is you can't make a call, I always go to two things. First, I go to the quarterback because it's a quarterback driven league. The NFL is a quarterback driven league. If you don't have a quarterback, just look at the Raiders. The Raiders have had talent, and people are always dogging on the Raiders defense the last few years. They always find a way to come up short. Well, you play 45 minutes out of a 60-minute game on the field, okay? You go out there and watch Geno Smith throw a pick, or a pick six, and that's the only thing you're like, please, at least throw a pick six so we get a few more minutes rest. Or just a team that can't move the ball, and it's like punt. Other team drives the ball for 5 minutes. You get the ball, punt. Other team drives the ball for 8 minutes and scores. Okay, it's tough.
Bad.
Okay, the people that say that, they're not taking that into consideration because either they've never played any sport, they don't know how playing a sport at a level against people that want to beat you takes something out of you. Okay, and or they're just playing buffoons. All right, the Raiders have had a chance the past few years, but they haven't, and it's because the quarterback's been a disaster. It's been a joke. The last time we had a decent quarterback was Rich Gannon. The last time we had an actually had a good quarterback, you got to go back to, maybe Jeff Hostetler was serviceable, but you really got to go back to Plunkett, period. That was in the 80s. When Plunkett retired from the Raiders, I think I was still, I think it was in 8th grade. Come on. So that long, I'm old. So I go to quarterback, and then if there's anything else, I always look at either the coaching staff or the overall defense. Okay, because coaches, whoever can make the right decision or whatever. And in this case, I just think Malik Willis and Geno Smith. There's not a question there. It's Malik Willis. So that's why I say the Dolphins. And I hate the Dolphins. If you said, okay, which team do you like better, Jets or Dolphins? Just the name, the history, whatever. I'm probably going to pick the Jets. I have great respect for Dan Marino. Dude was just a different kind of cat, but that's what I would say. So I'd say the Dolphins are a little better built right now. I think their upward mobility in the near future is far better than the Jets.
I would agree. So let me give you my things, and then we'll go into ceiling and floor for each team. But I had the Jets at 2-15, finishing last. I'll give you the records. I had the Dolphins at 4-13. I had the Patriots at 11-6, and the Bills at 14-3. That was how I picked the division, basically.
All right. So I'm going to go a different route because I didn't pick every single game or get assigned, but the Bills, their ceiling is Super Bowl champs. Okay, they could win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
it's possible. I think the floor for them is a wild card. So the Patriots. I'm predicting the Bills, but the Patriots could win that division. So a wild card is the floor. The floor, the ceiling for the Patriots is honestly, I just don't think they're there yet. I think they could win a playoff game. That's it. That's as far as they're going. They could go as far as they did last year. They could win the division, maybe get to the championship. I don't think they will, and I think the floor for them is also, I think that there is a possibility that they miss the playoffs. Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that later, but you get is it 6 now still or 7? It's 7. So you got 7. You got 3 wild cards. Okay. Well, 2 wild cards are coming out of the West. End of story. No way around it. So that means, if they didn't win the division, they'd have to beat out somebody like the Ravens or the Bengals or maybe even the Steelers or maybe the Texans. So they could be left out of the playoffs. But I think the floor for them is probably 9 wins, and that's the floor. The same thing. I think the Dolphins will win 2 or 3 games at least. They may win 5. I think the floor is 3, so 3 to 5. I think the Jets could potentially be 0-17. I don't think they will. Usually it's the NFL; they'll find a win. But I think the ceiling for them is 3 wins.
I agree. That's
they
interesting.
suck.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll finish.
The
our
only
AFCs.
advantage they have, Jets fans have over Raiders fans this year, is they're going to get a better pick. That's it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, y'all can you can thank Gino for that. So, but yeah, I agree. So about the same, pretty much the same standings. Let's go to the next one. We got AFC North. This is a little bit different because this is historically one of the toughest divisions of what they say. AFC North, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland. Let's get into it.
Why do they always throw Cleveland in there? Look, Cleveland contended in the 80s for a little bit, and since then they're nothing. So they weren't even a team for a while.
Was there
Cleveland Browns
Star or whatever?
Now, have they even won a playoff game? It was Bernie Kosar.
Bernie Kosar was the quarterback in the 80s. Playing the drive, Elway beat them. So we got Baltimore, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and in Baltimore, they're always, at the top, and it's really because honestly, it was a lot of Harbaugh, and Harbaugh kept them consistent. They had Lamar, they've had Derrick Henry the past few years, they've had Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews at tight end. Like they've had good offense, and they've had really, really good defenses. And the Ravens have honestly, before they had Lamar, they rode on their defense a little bit is what they relied on. And now with Lamar, they've had an offense to put with that defense, but they just haven't been able to get over the hump. They haven't been able to win the big one yet. And now they fired Harbaugh. He's at the Giants now. And now Baltimore has a whole new coaching staff. We'll see how that goes. I still think Lamar is tier 1, one of the elite quarterbacks in the league, one of the few. I guess if you had to give me a top 3, he'd definitely be in my top 3 in terms of overall skill and talent. They still got Derrick Henry. They've got weapons. They've got defensive players. Cincinnati, Joe Burrow, right? With Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, 2 of the best receivers in the league. Jamar Chase is widely considered as the best. And then you got T. Higgins, and then you've got, what's their running back's name? I forgot. It used to be Mixon, and then Mixon left.
I know. That was maybe not the best decision in the world.
What's his name? Chase Brown. So Chase Brown's a good running back too. He's one of the higher rated fantasy running backs, and he does a lot of stuff. But like I said, man, they're gonna have a good offense. The question is the defense is like Swiss cheese every year, man. It's like a hot knife through butter. Offenses just run through them. It really doesn't matter who's playing.
And
the Jets offense can do it. And they're not now. They did get Cassius Howell on the defensive end, but they lost Hendrickson to the Ravens, which kind of sucks. The Ravens were going to get Crosby, and if they would have kept Hendrickson, but Hendrickson left, so they have to replace him with a rookie defensive end. And again, they just don't have a whole lot on the defensive side. If you go to Pittsburgh, like I said, got rid of Mike Tomlin. They still have. They still have Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback. Don't really know how they're. Yeah, I just don't know at his old age. I mean, I just don't know whatever. But you have DK Metcalf at receiver. Rico Dowdle's their running back. He's one of their running backs along with Jalen Warren. They're both going to split time. Rico is a Gamecock. You got Will Howard as the backup. He's obviously not going to play over Rodgers. Rodgers would not be happy with that. So you got old Aaron Rodgers, and you got some decent weapons. You got an okay defense. This is a hard division for me to predict.
Me too.
Honestly, because all these teams either have a new coaching staff or they've revamped on one side of the ball or another. And then you got Cleveland, who's been abysmal for a long time. Who knows who's going to play quarterback for them? I guess it's Deshaun this year. I guess if he's healthy, Deshaun, Shador, Flacco. I mean, or not Flacco, but I don't know. I don't know. Who's going to Dylan Gabriel? I mean, it's like you have 3 quarterbacks that are probably all what Cleveland's going to do is they're going to do what Saban did when they had Hurts and Tua, and they're just going to go back and forth and see who's got the hot hand. And that's not a recipe for winning in the NFL. So for me, I have the
On the
Cleveland Browns
NFL.
last. I have them last. Okay.
Agree.
And hey, Twinklemania, my boy Kane, he's a Browns fan. He's from Ohio. I got you guys going 3-14 this year.
Poor
Okay. I'm
guy.
giving you 3 wins. I'll give you that. It's whatever. 3-14.
Work out a deal with
Cool.
the Jets so that you guys can maybe
Yeah.
figure out a way to beat them for the number 1 pick.
Now, this is interesting to me, but like I said, you got the Bengals for me. I got the Bengals third, and I have them 8 and 9. All right, I think the Bengals are going to be decent. They're going to be able to win some games, but I don't think they win enough. I think their defense continues to be the downfall, and I think they need 2 or 3 more drafts on the defensive side to build some kind of foundation to keep from just. I think they gave up on average 29 or 30 points per game last year. That's a lot for a defense to give up, and that's not good. That was near the bottom. I think they were 32nd, 31st, or 31st, 32nd overall defense. It was one of those. Can't remember exactly. But, yeah, man. Look, Browns, Bengals, 4 and 3. And I'm sure you probably have the same. I don't know what you got, but.
Okay, so I have the Browns last. Okay, you get rid of your best player on a bad team. That's it. You're done. So I don't care who the quarterback is. They're out. This division has 2 gigantic coaching changes. Okay, you get rid of 2 Super Bowl winning coaches. Okay, and you bring in new guys. And I don't know, man. So I'm gonna do something weird. I'm gonna pick the Steelers to finish third, and this is why. Rodgers is done. Okay, Rodgers is done. I doubt he does much more than he did for the Jets that year when he got hurt. In the locker room before the game started or whatever, or first play or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Bengals, this is a couple things I wrote about them. Okay, you got Joe Burrow, you got Jamar Chase, you got T. Higgins. You score some points, so they're going to be there. Okay, with the Ravens, you have an elite quarterback who can deliver. You got some players. Zay Flowers is a player. On defense, they're getting old, but they did steal away Trey Hendrickson from their division rival there.
Yep.
So what I'm saying is this: I'm saying a tie for the division. All right.
Wow.
Yeah, I say the Ravens and the Bengals tie. It's like in the state of South Carolina, you get an initial report when an officer shows up at an accident, and they have a box for them to pick who contributed. And so a lot of times you'll see when they can't make out between the stories and the evidence, they'll put nobody contributed. Well, guess what? Okay, somebody contributed. It was an accident. Okay, if nobody contributed, these 2 cars wouldn't have collided with each other. But I'm going to take the South Carolina Highway Patrol's, wussy way out, and I'm going to say a tie, and I'm not going to pick a winner. So I'm going to say a tie, and that both of these 2 teams get in the playoffs. Somebody wins the division, somebody is so Bengals and Ravens
right.
tie.
So, like I said, I had the Bengals in third at 8 and 9. I have the Steelers at 9 and 8 in second, and then I have the Ravens at 11 and 6 winning the division. So I just, I think the Ravens win the division outright. I don't think there's a tie.
Possible.
11 and 6 though, for a division winner, 11 and 6 is kind of a low record. So it shows that this division's kind of a little bit down to me, and that's what I'm going to go with. So
that's going to happen though.
Yeah.
I think that's going to happen. I think I think
said,
11, 12 wins is the ceiling for anybody in that division.
Yeah, and like I said, ceiling for the Ravens is winning a playoff game. I don't think they can win a Super Bowl. Floor is, to me, I think the floor for the Ravens is a wild card. I think at the worst they're going to get in because of that division. For me, the Steelers, ceiling would be winning a playoff game. Floor would be missing the playoffs. Bengals, I think ceiling is making a wild card and then missing the playoffs by a good bit. And then for the Browns, the ceiling, to me, honestly, man, the ceiling is the hope that Deshaun Watson can channel his 2016 national championship game Alabama quarterback in him. And maybe you win enough to where, you're just at 500. And then the floor is obviously dead last, 2 wins, 3 wins.
Mm-hmm.
I still think they win a couple, but that's it. And that's me.
All the problems that Cleveland has, one thing that's going to add to that is Deshaun and Shador.
Yeah.
So, and you're also going to have pressure because a college football coach and a former NFL Hall of Famer is the father of one of those players. I think it's just a bad dynamic. I think it's a bad situation up there.
It is.
Florida ceiling 2 to 5 wins. Pittsburgh, yeah, they could win 9 games, maybe 10. The floor is probably 6 or 7. They're just going to be what they're going to be. I think the Bengals and the Ravens both could win a playoff game. So, and then I think it's possible that it happens to where, one of them wins the division and the other team doesn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
You get 2 teams from the West in the wild card, and say the other wild card is Jacksonville or Houston or the Colts, maybe, or the Patriots. So it's possible. So it's possible only one team gets there. So they both have the same ceiling and the same floor. Look, I look at Cincinnati and Baltimore, and I see basically the same potential. A little bit different makeup, but same potential.
Yeah, one of my questions was, and people talk about this, is this the toughest division in football? And I'll tell you what, it's not now. Not anymore. Maybe it was in the 2010s when they were all good and it was a fight for whoever was going to get first. And now it's not anymore. All right, best quarterback who's the better quarterback? Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson? Who you taking?
Okay, so that's tough, and this is why. Both quarterbacks have this fragility to them, okay? If you miss some time, a few games, or the last part of a season or something, okay. But to do that multiple times, to have multiple times where you miss games, and that's a problem. So you look at this division, and you have the 3 best teams that could all have their quarterback gone. Okay, one guy is old, he's already, and the other 2 have both missed the end of a season before. They've missed multiple timeouts. And then the other one, you got 2 guys that I wonder about that dynamic. So this is a quarterback nightmare in this division.
It is.
So that's why I do not think that the AFC championship contender comes from this division, even though both teams, both Baltimore and Cincinnati, have the talent to get to the AFC championship, maybe even to win it. I don't think you will. Because I think there's just too many unsolved questions. So the AFC West is now, the AFC North went from being one of the toughest divisions to just a bunch of also-rans. Sorry, they're just not as much of a factor.
I agree. Which, and that's the funny is the reason I had Pittsburgh at second is just also because they have a really good defense. Their defense is very close to the Ravens, and I think that's going to help them. So, again, their offense may not be great. Rodgers isn't what he used to be, but their defense is going to be good enough to maybe get past Cincinnati and Cleveland, and that's why I have them there at second. But, again, Baltimore's still the favorite to me, and that's just who I'm going to go with.
Gun to my head, it's a tie. I got to pick a winner. I pick Baltimore. But
okay. All right. Well,
I'm still staying with tie.
Let's get it. All right. Well, let's move on. We're going to go to the AFC South. All right. And this is an interesting division. You have Houston, Jacksonville, Indy, and Tennessee. Now, I think we can both agree that Tennessee is just too low right now. And they have Cam Ward, all right, who's going to be fine. He just needs more time.
Yep.
He needs more time, and they need more around him. I just don't know if they have enough. I look at a Tennessee roster, and I'm just like, they're okay. Like Carnell Tate, they just drafted him again, rookie receiver, all right, with someone like Cam Ward, Wan'Dale Robinson and Calvin Ridley. And then you got Tony Pollard. I just don't know what to think. The offense just doesn't scream electric to me.
So Vegas has the Titans 6.5. Okay. Bet USA says that is the most solid of all the over-under bets in the NFL to take the under on the Titans on 6.5. So yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Titans.
That's what I'm saying. So I have the Titans at 4-13.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's going to be a rough year for them, and that's just what I'm going with, right? Like I said, I just don't see a whole lot. Cam Ward's great. I think they need to build more. I'm still also a little finicky on their defense. I don't think they have a great defense or anything by any means. So we'll have to see. Like I said, I have them at 4-13. Could they get to 5-12? Possibly, but 4-13, I'd take the under 2. That's good. And that's my prediction for 4. And then 3, I'll give you my 3.
6.5, I would definitely, and I don't bet, but if I were a person, that's the one I'd lock into.
Yeah.
6 is past their ceiling.
I'll give you my 3, and then I'll let you give me your 4 and 3, and we'll see if we have the same. But third, I have the Jaguars, and I have them at 6-11. I think that they're going to be an okay team. Trevor Lawrence, they lost Travis Etienne, But when they have Brian Thomas Jr. at receiver, who's really just kind of been just abysmal. I mean, I don't know. They have Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. They got Bashal Tutin as their running back. Chris Rodriguez. I'm just like, you lost ETN, man. That was kind of your main guy. They got Jacoby Myers also at receiver. But man, it just doesn't scare me. I think Jacoby Myers is the best receiver out of that receiving core, including Travis Hunter, who I think should be playing DB. But for me, not a good defense. I mean, not a great defense. They used to have a great defense, and it's kind of they've been plucked away. But yeah, I have these guys fourth. I have them 6-11. I think that their ceiling might be 6 or 7 wins. I don't know, maybe 8. But that's what I'm going with for my 4-3. Titans, Jaguars, 4-3.
Okay, so I'm with you on. As far as Tennessee, they are 4, no doubt. I'm not ready to just mail in the Jaguars yet. Okay, we'll talk about them because I got them second. I'll go with the Colts. Look, I don't believe in Daniel Jones. Okay, he probably better than Anthony Richardson, but I don't believe in him. I mean, the free agency hurt them a little bit. They didn't respond to fill some of the losses. They were a good team last year. At one point, weren't they? I think they were 8-2 at one point and had
the
best
good
record
until
in the
week
NFC.
12.
And then it just fell apart, and that doesn't happen to really good teams. So I think they're probably somewhere between 5 and 8 wins. So I got the Colts third.
Okay. I mean, look, I could have put the Colts there. Initially, when I was doing these predictions, I had the Colts winning the division, but I've changed since then because I looked more into it. But anyways, the Colts look okay coaching staff. I mean, they have an owner now, Jim Irsay's daughter or whatever that's running things, and she's super involved, man. She's on the field. She has a headset on, and when they asked her why she's so involved and why has a headset on, so she goes, I want to know what's going on with the people that I hired. I hired these coaches. I want to see if they know what they're talking about, or if they're, I don't know. She wants to micromanage, and I think that can be good, but I don't know. You don't see any other owner doing that, but I have the Colts second. I have them at 9-8 in second place in that division. Daniel Jones is a good quarterback. I just don't know if they can put it all together. I think last year was they found some fool's gold in the first half of the season, and then they kind of fell apart after that. We saw that. I think they can win 9 games, but I think that's about all they get. So I have them second, and I have the Texans winning the division. But a very rough. I have the Texans going 10-7. But I have them winning the division. D'Amico Ryans is a great coach, great former player too, and that's what I like about it. He played for the Texans, actually got injured and won a settlement against them, and got paid millions of dollars by them because of how they handled his injury. And now he's back coaching for them, so it's kind of funny. But they do have C.J. Stroud. Okay, they've got weapons. All right, I think C.J. Stroud is a great quarterback. I think he's, not a lot of people believe in C.J. Stroud, but I like him. David Montgomery, Nico Collins, and Tank Dell at receiver. They got a good defense. They got guys like Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter. They have a good offensive line. They have one of the best left tackles in the league in Trent Brown. So they have a team that's complete. They've put together a good roster. They've spent a lot of money on their roster. And I want you to know, Chief, this Texans team, the reason I think they're going to be so good is they have the highest paid offensive line in the league. They've spent the most money on their offensive line, and they have protected C.J. Stroud, and I think that's what's going to allow them to win this division. So I got them at 10-7 winning the division.
So in this division, we just have 2 and 3 flopped. So I got the Jaguars at 2, and all the other stuff I said. I'm a South Carolina fan. I don't care much about Clemson or whatever. Mm-hmm. Lawrence is starting to find his way. Trevor Lawrence is finding his way. They do have a rough schedule. They got to play back-to-back games in London. That's a long time, and I'm assuming they're just going to stay over there. So that's going to mess up with the flow. So there's some issues. Otherwise, I would have picked them to jump the Texans. But I'm picked them second. The Texans, man. Okay, I have always, and you know this, you could talk to our barber, Rod. I have always been on C.J. Stroud bandwagon. Okay, I was like, if the Raiders could have figured out a way to get Stroud, who knows what could have happened if we'd had Stroud. Stroud when we had Cooper, and we had Jacoby Myers, and it could have been a different story. But all that's beside, and Jacobs. I mean, that could have been a very good offense. That defense is nasty. Will Anderson might be the best defensive player overall in the league. Dude is filthy. Nico Rhines is a great coach. They have a good offensive line. So I picked them to win. And the reason is, I come down to two teams and it's real close. And I give the Texans the jump over the Jaguars in both areas, in defense and in quarterback. So
yeah.
And look,
Tell you what,
Lawrence is getting close. Lawrence is not that far behind
no,
Stroud,
he's not.
but I think C.J. Stroud is just. I would have took him in a second as a Raider. So yeah, I got Jacksonville, and then I got Texas.
I'll give you Houston. I'll take Houston because also look at their defense. They got Kamari Lassiter or Derek Stingley at corner. Great tandem.
They're loaded, man.
Yeah. And you know what? Houston continues on the Gamecock trend because guess who their punter is? Kai Kroger.
Oh, yeah. We got Kai Kroger. Yeah.
By the way, the Braves just won the series against the Rangers. They won 8-5 today. They lost last night, but they won 8-5 today. So offense is producing again now.
Yeah.
But anyways, we've been off the Braves for a little bit, guys.
I know.
It's been down. Baldwin went yard twice. So
we'll get back somewhere in September when we start getting ready for the playoffs and stuff.
It'll be in between.
Right now, it's a lot of
football. The college football. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That like I said, AFC South. I like that. I like where we're at. Like I said, I have Houston, Indy, Jacksonville, Tennessee. You have Houston, Jacksonville, Indy, and Tennessee. Roughly same, just 2 and 3 swapped. Like I said, ceiling for the Texans, AFC Championship game, floor, wild card. Okay, actually, I take that back. I think the floor for the Texans is a wild card game, but I think it's winning the division. I think that's their floor. I think the way this division is, Texas floor is winning the division. I think Indy's is making a wild card, and then their floor is finishing third. I think Jacksonville's is making a wild card, and their floor is finishing second, maybe missing the playoffs. And Tennessee,
I'm going to disagree a little bit.
Their ceiling is maybe getting the 10th overall pick.
Houston and Jacksonville could both win a playoff game. Okay, that's their ceiling. That's for both of them. I think. And then the Colts ceiling, maybe they win 9 games. Maybe they were to – no, they're not getting in the playoffs. The Colts aren't getting in the playoffs, okay? So their ceiling is 8 wins. The Titans 3 to 6 wins. The Colts floor is probably 4 or 5 wins. But Jacksonville and Houston, one of those teams could win the division and the other team could be left out. So the floor for both teams is like maybe 8, 9 wins and they get left out. It's possible. There are a lot of variables for these teams. Like I said, the Jaguars have some scheduling issues to overcome and a murder schedule. So I don't know. I think maybe I think Houston will win that division no matter what. So I'll say that their ceiling is winning the division and getting in the playoff, or the floor. The ceiling is winning a game. So I don't give a lot of latitude there. They're kind of keyed into one spot in my mind.
All right, which QB in this division will take the biggest leap this year?
Man, that's tough, man.
I would say Cam Ward does, even though they don't have a good season. I think he takes a bigger leap.
Yeah, because the other two, Daniel Jones is what he is, and Trevor Lawrence and Stroud are what they are. These guys are Stroud. They're both tier 2. They could potentially at the end of their career be at the bottom of tier 1 as quarterbacks. Okay, Daniel Jones, his ceiling's 2. Cam Ward, yeah, he probably takes the biggest leap forward. And I wouldn't be flabbergasted if if he won a couple of games he isn't supposed to win, because you can do that, and he's dynamic, and they win 7 games. But that's all they're getting this year.
All right. Well, since you said Tennessee can possibly, here's a question for you, and I know you have them third. Can Indy win the division?
No.
Can this Colts team win? No.
The Jaguars are less than 5%.
I would say yeah, if things go right.
Houston is probably 97% to win this division.
Yeah.
That's for me. So
okay.
Mark the tape.
All right, mark it. Yep. You can always call us out on it. All right, now move it on.
Now to the toughest division in the league. And so the Raiders are going to be 17-0 and win that. No, I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, this is the toughest division. Okay,
yep.
Patrick
AFC
Mahomes,
West.
Justin Herbert, Mendoza is going to be good. How good, we don't know. But Mendoza has the ability, the potential, the understanding, the work ethic, the character to be right up there with those two guys. Bo Nix has already proven, he's not tier one, but he's right there.
Dude,
and another thing is this stupid division is coach loaded. I mean, what the hell? All right. So you've got the toughest quarterback division and the toughest coach division. Andy Reid, multiple Super Bowls. Okay. Jim Harbaugh, in a college championship.
Also won a Super Bowl.
He wins, won a Super Bowl. And then Sean Payton, Super Bowl champion, offensive innovator, a guy that doesn't he evolves what he needs to evolve with whatever the trends are and whatever the system is. Unlike some moron named Mike Shula that's running a 1978 offense when every linebacker at 230 pounds in Division I can run a 4.6. Yeah, but so this is a tough division, and you add now to that division, okay? You add the best offensive, the coordinator of the best offense in the NFL, and by the way, the Super Bowl champions.
Yep.
To the head coach, and this division is absolutely brutal. It's ridiculous. We need to shake it up. You need to put the Raiders, the new division needs to be called the Legends division, and you put in the Jets, the Browns, the Titans, and the Raiders. Okay.
Yeah.
That right there, and I can pick that division right now for you. Okay, the Raiders and the Three Dwarfs. So no, this is just a tough division. It really is. I mean, it's good grief, man. I mean, and I tell you something else too. You got Mahomes he's won his Super Bowls. He maybe not done. Dude is just. I mean, he just whatever it takes to win. He just freaking does it.
Let's look at this.
Throw the ball underhanded, flip it, throw it with his left hand, 3/4. I mean, dude is better than Brett Favre at improvisation. Okay.
Yeah.
So Herbert doesn't get the run. Listen, Herbert doesn't get the run that he deserves. No, Herbert, I would take Herbert in a skinny minute. Okay. Obviously, of course, I would have took Holmes at any point, and he wouldn't be the worst guy on the planet. He'd be the greatest player ever if he was wearing silver and black.
Yeah.
But Herbert's a baller. I mean, Bo Nix is better than anything we've had since, Rich Gannon. So this division is terrible. I hate it.
It is. So let's give it. Let me go in. The Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. They just got Kenneth Walker from the Seahawks. Big deal. They have Rashee Rice, all right, Xavier Worthy. At receiver, they have Travis Kelce, probably his last year at tight end. I think he's going to retire after this year, but
he'll be on a pitch count.
Still a good offense. They have a good defense led by Chris Jones up in the interior defensive line, right? They've got good linebackers. I mean, they've got good corners. L'Jarius Sneed, who just signed he's the highest paid corner in the league now. They're going to be good. Okay. Do I think that they are going to win the division? No, I don't think the Chiefs are the favorite anymore. I think that has shifted now more towards LA and Denver. I think those are your two that are probably going to vie for the division, but the Chiefs are still going to be good, which sucks because the Raiders it doesn't matter what we do. It's like we're always playing catch up in this division. And so you go to Kansas City, you go to Denver now. Denver has Bo Nix, right? They still got Cortland Sutton. They've got R.J. Harvey at running back. They've got playmakers and weapons. They've got Judy. Good defense too. Denver's probably going to have the best defense this year. They did. It's just right now they're number one in the league. Denver's got the best defense. And then you go to the Chargers, who's got Justin Herbert, along with Amarion Hampton and guys like Lad McConkey.
Their defense isn't a joke either.
Their defense isn't a joke either. They have a good defense. And then you go to the Raiders, right, who are some question marks about quarterback. I mean, Kirk Cousins is going to start the season. You got Genty and Bowers and, Jalen Naylor, and you got Trey Tucker, which is a good start, not as stacked. You don't really have a true wide receiver one. And the Raiders are going to have a better defense. I mean, they picked up Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker.
Yes.
They've got Kwity Paye on the other side of Max Crosby. They got Taron Johnson as a good nickel corner slot guy, and we re-signed Trey Stokes or Eric Stokes. And this Raiders defense is going to be good. So this is
the weakness on our defense last year was linebacker, which is not a good thing to have in the NFL. We fixed that. The
Yeah.
defense is going to be way better, not marginally, way better. Look, just to be honest, although I'm still hoping, and if I'm wrong, then yes, but I say we're fourth. I say we win. I say we win 6 to 8 games. I think the over under for us was
So
5.5. They pick us under. I think we're going to win 6 to 8 games. We're still
let
going to
me
be
give
fourth
you
in that division. It's just no choice. It's what you're facing. I think the Raiders. I think we could be one of the top 15 teams in the NFL this year,
a
and we still finished fourth in that division. So, you know, look, we won 3 games last year, right? That ain't happening again. Okay.
no.
We're going to win 6 or 7 games. We can maybe win 9, depending on tiebreakers. I don't know. So we're third. Ironically, I got our fourth. I got the Chiefs third. And this is
Yeah,
why.
I do too.
Uh, yeah, they picked up Kenneth Walker, good running back. But Mahomes is on a knee brace. Man, he played some hurt games last year before
Yeah.
he finally went out. Okay, maybe I'm just whatever, but I just think he played some hurt games. And then the Chiefs, when we played them, that last game, and we won and still got the #1 pick. Thank you. It was nice to beat them and still get that pick. They saw what it was like when you roll out some stiff puppet knucklehead that can't play quarterback. Okay. So they saw what it was like. And Minshew is terrible.
Mhm.
So anyway, so that defense is a little older. They didn't do a lot to get better. And I want to say one thing. Okay. What Rashid Rice did is almost no different than what Henry Ruggs did. The result is a little bit different. Okay. All right. The consequences of what Henry Ruggs did is far worse than Rashid Rice. I get it, but it's the same act. Okay. I don't. I just think he ought to be cut loose. If the Chiefs did that, they know that they're out their best receiver, and they're probably in a lot of trouble. Okay. So if you make a decision based on what someone did, that's unethical or wrong or criminal, based on how much you need that person to help you win games, that is wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. But I did say Andy Reid is a good coach. Andy Reid is a scumbag. Okay. Andy Reid raised 2 turd of sons. Okay. I think you judge somebody by how they raise their kids, and not that good parents don't have bad kids. Okay. But I just think that the guy did. You have kids, you're like, well, I'm just not that. I got a career. You have kids, you have responsibilities. Okay. End of story. So I don't like Andy Reid as a person. He's a good offensive coach. He's got a good mind or whatever. I just don't like him. I don't like him. He's a turd. Eventually, somewhere along the way, karma's going to slap him in the back of the head. This might be the year that does it. It's possible we could jump them. So I got the Raiders fourth. I got the Chiefs third.
Same thing. I have the Raiders at 8-9, and I have the Chiefs at 9-8. So that's your
Mm.
fourth and third teams.
Well, I got the Chargers second, and I got the Broncos first. And the reason is just
Same.
plain and simple. The defense, man. That Broncos defense is just in the NFL to do what they do. They almost beat the Patriots with their starting quarterback out. Okay. You lose a game, whatever, but you're talking about your starting quarterback goes about in the AFC championship game. Okay. And they were in that game. That defense is just wicked nasty. Sean Payton is a great coach. He may not be the greatest person of all, but what's the worst thing you've ever heard of him about the bounties or whatever? So
Yeah.
I don't know, man. The guy, like I said, the guy innovates, he changes, he adapts. He doesn't run the same system for 30 years, which gets you run off the field nowadays. So, I don't like the Broncos. I hate the Broncos. I hate the Chargers. I hate the Chiefs. And I think the best quarterback right now in the division is Herbert. Okay, he is better than Bo Nix. He's marginally better than Patrick Mahomes right now. Probably a lot better considering I don't know what happens. He's in a rough division. Look, Mahomes is going to have some trouble playing the Broncos twice because that defense is going to hit him. Okay, I don't know, man. So I go
So
with, again, this is one of those things where I think things are even. The Chargers and the Broncos are a toss up for me, on the surface. But you look, one team has the better quarterback, one team has the better defense, but the defense is so. And I don't think Peyton and Harbaugh are interchangeable as coaches in my mind. That's 2 really good coaches. I hate them right now. because of who they coach and all, but they're good. So I say Denver. I say that the floor for Denver is they get in as a wild card if maybe the Chargers were to overcome them. And the ceiling is the Broncos could win the Super Bowl. With that defense, you can't rule them out. And if Bo Nix is healthy, they probably get there last year. They lose.
So
Nobody beat the Seahawks last year. Nobody was beating the Seahawks in that Super
no,
Bowl. Okay.
I have
But they could get there and they could win it this year.
I have a little bit different.
The
I have
Chargers, the Chargers could win the division. I don't think they can win
They
the Super
could.
Bowl. Their floor is a wild card. The Chiefs could get a wild card. Their floor is maybe they barely get left out of the wild card because they're going to win 8-9 games no matter what. So that's where we are in that division.
I have the Chargers at 10-7 and second. That's what I picked.
Okay.
That's why I said 10-7.
That makes sense. That makes sense. 9, 10, 11 wins. Yeah.
So essentially, I have the Broncos winning the division, but I have them going 13-4. I have them as number 2 overall. I have them the number 2 overall seed going to the playoffs. So if we look at it overall,
if Buffalo can get that game at home,
yeah,
then they can win. If they go to Denver, Denver's going to win that AFC Championship, and that's what I think the AFC Championship is. I think it's Denver and Buffalo. Do they play each other? Let me look at the schedules. I'll look it up. Go ahead and say what you're going to say. I'll look it up.
So if you're looking at it right now, I have the Bills number 1 overall in the AFC at 14-3. I have the Broncos number 2 at 13-4. And that's going to make the Ravens at 11-6, number 3, and then the Texans are your 4th division winner at 10-7. And then from there, you're going to have the Patriots as the number 5.
Yeah, they beat the Broncos 10-7 in that game.
And then you're going to have the Chargers as the number 6 at 10-7, which
they might
to
not
me,
play each other.
Which is going to leave either the Chiefs or the Steelers or the Raiders as the 7, as I all have them 9-8. So it's going to play out to kind of better. So, but
all right, so
yes.
check this out. Next to last game of the season.
Bills.
No, sorry. The next. Oh, Christmas Day. Christmas Day, Bills and Broncos. You couldn't have drawn it up any better, man.
Oh, I know.
Oh my gosh. 4:30. Okay, so after you do your presents, I make my big brunch. We have all that. You're settled in. The kids
take a little nap.
Whatever. Oh my gosh, that is awesome. Thank you guys. That is nice.
Hey, take a little nap. Wake up and then watch it.
Well, yeah, that is going to be a very good. I am excited about this. The Broncos played the Raiders on the on the Sunday before that.
Yeah.
So, but look at listen to this though. So the Broncos they play the Raiders, at Vegas. Then they got the Bills at home. That's their advantage there. Then they go to the Patriots, and then they finish with the Chargers. What a 3-game banger at the end there. Wow. So whoever wins the Bills-Broncos game is most likely going to be the
number 1.
Yeah, and they'll host. So that's a big game. The Broncos get lucky getting that at home.
It is.
So, although the cold weather doesn't matter for either of those teams, the Bills are probably better. And Denver gets cold too. It's about the same. So if there's snow, if there's weather in that championship game, it won't matter. It's kind of interesting that the last game of the season is on the 10th of January. So you're going to have a Super Bowl like after Valentine's Day.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well,
so that's mine. And if they're at home, I'm picking the Bills.
Okay.
If they're at Denver, I'll have to wait and see where we are. So that's my AFC Championship, Bills Broncos.
All right. Well, I got 2 questions before we close it out since we're finished with the AFC West. First one, has Denver and LA passed the Chiefs for the foreseeable future?
I think we got to wait and see this year. Denver has. I think we got to wait and see what happens this year with the Raiders. And then you got to wait and see what happens because, the draft could change. I mean, the Raiders got a few things they got to pick up. If you have the season that most people are thinking and you win like 5 or 6 games, you're going to get a top 10 pick. You can maybe address whatever the biggest issue is, which it seems like it's going to be either offensive line or receiver. So I think we got to wait. At the end of the season, I'll know a little better on that because we haven't passed them yet. The Broncos have. But
let's do this one last question, and I think we're gonna have the same answer. Most improved team from this division going after this year.
I mean, it's the Raiders. If you go from 3
I think
to
this
7,
will be the most. I think it'll be the most improved.
What other mobility is there? What the Chiefs, even if the Chiefs were to make it playoffs or to win 11 or 12 games, it's not an improvement off last year because last year they had all those injuries and all those issues and lost Mahomes. So I still don't think it's an improved team. So
Yeah.
I think definitely the Raiders, no doubt.
Yeah. I think already the Raiders are the most improved team just from draft and
Yeah.
off-season
There
acquisitions.
was a lot of
But
work in the offseason by the Raiders too, in the free agency,
right.
and I mean
Well,
they didn't just draft the right person finally. They did some
yeah.
other stuff.
And I got one more question for you that's outside of what we've done, but I'm going to give you this question because this is something you know better, and I think you were a kid when the Raiders won their Super Bowls, at least the first one with Madden.
I
Right.
was 12 when
So
we won the last one.
okay, so you got a choice. You can pick one coach to revive and bring back to the Raiders, Flores or Madden.
Flores.
Okay.
Tom Flores. Listen, Tom Flores had a wild group, man. A wild. I mean, I'm talking about wild.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, these guys were carousers. They were. I mean, this isn't
Probably
exactly
not.
the kind
Probably
of.
not the greatest people.
Listen, if you were to cut one of these guys, you're gonna get like, a SWAT team in there with you when you cut them, so that because you're like, well, I'm letting you go. You're not gonna. I
Would
mean,
you? You
just
would probably have
look,
to admit.
Matuzak, Ted Hendricks, Alzado, Rod Martin, Howie Long, Lester Hayes. I mean, these guys, even the quiet safety, Van McElroy, dude, he would rip your head off. Okay, if he thought it would win a game. This was a different group of people. And that's just the defense. The offense was just the same, man. I mean, Plunkett was like an NCAA champion wrestler.
Yeah. Did you have Tatum then too?
No, he was leaving. He played in the first Super Bowl, so
Yeah.
and then made it out. Madden did good. Madden probably had the best. I mean, that team was 13-1. They lost one game with a couple injuries, a little bit fluky. They should have been probably undefeated. They dominated everybody. So yeah, but Flores, I mean, and when they got rid of, that's another thing you talked about, the micromanaging. Al Davis at times would step back and let people work. Two things made him get more involved. Okay, and this is what I think. If you were doing bad, okay, he would get too involved, and that's what happened starting in like the 90s. He just got way too involved.
Yeah.
What's wrong? And so he if you were losing, he would step in, and that's why he was so involved. And then when you found success, he would get involved. Okay, so if you were
Yeah.
losing, he didn't like that, and he wanted to win. If you had success and he wasn't involved, he felt like, well, somebody else is going to get my credit. Okay, he and John Madden had issues over that. Okay, he got rid of Tom Flores because the guys loved him. All right, he got rid of John Gruden because we had been so bad, and then Gruden revived us. Okay, we should have won 3 Super Bowls in a row. Okay,
Yeah.
if we'd have kept Gruden, he was rolling at that time, and he got mad because everybody was giving Gruden the credit, and it was like who's Al Davis? He did not like that. Okay, so there was a time when Al Davis, at that time he was a great evaluator of talent. Okay, and he put together a bunch of people but he just didn't like not getting credit. He wanted the credit. And I think that was probably the worst thing. And then of course his son, who's a complete buffoon. You walk around with the kind of money that the owner of an NFL franchise has, and you got that haircut, you are a loser. Okay, so I love the Raiders. Not a big fan of the Davis family. The Godfather, and then Al Davis went through a spell where he wanted trophies. So everybody that won an MVP or a Super Bowl MVP or a Heisman, he wanted.
Yeah.
Let's get these trophies lined up. Forget about substance and continuity and chemistry, and so good and bad with him. But I take Flores right now over anybody. Honestly, though, I would take Gruden during the first run with the Raiders over anybody. Okay, Charlie Garner was a good player. Tim Brown and Jerry Rice were at the end of their careers, and Rich Gannon was a system guy. Nothing special. We talk about how Mahomes can improvise. Herbert's got a big arm and stuff. Gannon had none of that. But that team scored a lot of points. That team had a good defense. So of all the Raiders coaches of all time, Gruden the first time through, even though he didn't win a Super Bowl, he got robbed out of a couple. Okay, the Tuck rule, we would have won that Super Bowl. We got robbed out of that. The next year, Saragossa, 25 days after play was blown dead, jumping on Gannon, taking him out, and we lose that game by a touchdown. And then, of course, the Super Bowl, where you go against the guy that built the team, and he destroyed us. So And then who knows what the future would have been if he'd have stayed. So, so that's mine.
All right. Well, that's all I have for this episode.
Yeah,
The
hey, good
preview
episode.
done.
No
And
food, but I
then
got something
can go
for you
get your-
next week. So we won't.
Yeah,
The NFC won't take as long because
we'll do a 15 to 20-minute food cooking tip segment.
not that many, but we'll do something next week. I got a little something special, planned for
All right.
everybody. Something you're going to want to hear and you're going to want to use. So,
All right. Sounds good. But yeah, that's going to wrap for episode 14. Episode 14, Tailgate Show.
It was fun having Ruben in and having Ace in and both of them and stuff, but this is pretty cool just us two today. I liked it. It was good.
In the future, episode 14, like I said, we're getting there. We're getting there. But yeah, maybe next week we'll have everybody back, hopefully. Maybe the whole crew, and we can just all rag on each other and get into some more arguments.
That's right.
But NFC next week. Stay tuned. I appreciate y'all.
Hey, take care of yourselves and the people you love.
All right. That'll do it. See you next time.